I decided to get rid of my desktop PC. It is kind of bulky, heavy, somewhat noisy, and not very efficient. I mean, compared to an actual gaming PC with those powerful graphics cards that basically need their own power plant, it is actually super efficient. Since it only has an APU with integrated graphics, it only consumes around 100 watts, so that's not that big of an issue. I actually tried turning it into a mini PC. It helped, but it was still a bit big, noisy, and hard to move around. So after a while, I ended up turning it back to a regular tower PC and put it for sale and got myself a Steam Deck, which turned into a Steam Dock, since 99% of the time it was used like a regular desktop PC. But that left me with a certain uneasiness. The Steam Deck is meant for gaming on the go or on the couch, which I almost never do. These days I don't play that much to begin with, and when I do, I prefer to play games sitting at a proper desk with a monitor, keyboard and mouse. I tried taking the Steam Deck on trips, but honestly I found it a bit bulky and awkwardly shaped to put in my backpack. If you use the official case, it is super bulky, and without it, the size is basically cut in half. But then you need some kind of protection for the exposed screen and the thumbsticks. So I printed a screen protector just for that, which helped a lot. But the things I usually do on a computer don't work very well without a keyboard and mouse. So there were already a few extra things that I needed to bring along, adding to the bulk. And when you put everything together, it doesn't end up being much more practical than my old reliable ThinkPad, which is already over 10 years old, but still works very well for simple tasks. But the Steam Deck has a tiny screen, which isn't that much bigger than the one on my smartphone. So I sold the Steam Deck and decided to use the money to look for other, cheaper options, trying to find something that could serve me well in different areas such as browsing the internet and watching YouTube videos, programming games with Pygame, Raylib, Godot, playing older games like Skyrim, editing videos with Kdenlive. Plus, it should be something relatively compact and quiet. With a full-blown RAM apocalypse going on, I thought it would be a good opportunity for downsizing, to find something that meets my needs well while being portable and quiet. Well, the first device I tried is a used first generation Surface Go from 2018 for €55 including shipping. It has been a dream device for me for years, but in Brazil they are prohibitively expensive, at least 5 times more. It has two variants, one with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of eMMC, and another with 8GB of RAM and a 128GB SSD, which is the one I got. Nowadays, with all the bloat that we have, I think 4GB is the bare minimum. Anything beyond browsing the internet and word processing is challenging, even without multitasking. Windows 11, for example, fresh after booting, already uses around 3GB. With some optimizations, you might get a bit of that back, but at that point, I think it's easier to just switch to Linux, which on average, distros with fancier desktop environments use around 2GB, but some simpler, lighter options stay below 1GB, which helps a lot in such cases. Even having a massive 8GB of RAM at my disposal, I didn't want to waste this precious resource on interface fluff that I don't really care about. So I chose to install Lubuntu, a minimalist version of Ubuntu. That way, I have 1GB used by the system, and most of the tutorials and resources made for Ubuntu are still applicable, which makes my life a bit easier. Testing with my usual tasks, web browsing is quite smooth. I can open some tabs and do what I need without major complaints. The biggest issue, I think, is YouTube. Full HD videos sometimes stutter a bit. It works better if I lower the quality to 720p or, some cases, 480p, especially if I have many tabs and other programs open. But this is probably a bit of Firefox's fault. It's not ideal, but I can live with that. The second point, programming games using Pygame, Raylib and Godot, it actually works really well. I only had to make a small adjustment. Ditch VS Code, which is a bit heavy, and instead use a lighter editor. I settled on Sublime Text, which seems to highlight code better than the other options. With Godot, I admit I didn't do much. I only tested the engine with a sample 3D project and it seems to work fine, but I can't really say how it will behave with more complex projects. Now gaming, with Skyrim for example, at 720p on low quality, it's reasonable, around 40 FPS on average, but with some annoying stutters. Actually, that's more or less how I played it for the first time, many years ago, so it's even a bit nostalgic. I think the ThinkPad is more or less on the same level. I guess this is the bare minimum for me. I didn't bother to test less older games like The Witcher 3. If it already struggled with the OG Skyrim, I think it would really suffer with anything more demanding. Moving on to the next point, video editing on the Surface. Playback stutters from time to time, especially if I have many video tracks, so sometimes I need to reduce the preview quality and rendering is quite slow. It takes an hour to export a 10-minute clip. But I actually managed to edit a few videos on it without suffering too much. Still, I wouldn't really recommend it. The Surface Go is an amazing computer in many aspects. It is ultra portable with decent battery life. I could use it for several hours in the low power profile, and it has a really nice touchscreen display, very similar to an iPad. Opens up some interesting possibilities, like drawing and taking notes, without needing a dedicated graphics tablet. But it also has some serious downsides. Its Achilles heel is the CPU, which is efficient but also quite weak. It doesn't even have a cooling fan to keep it from thermal throttling. Another weak point is I/O. It only has a single USB-C port, one audio jack, and a proprietary magnetic charging docking port. In terms of expandability, there's basically only the SD card slot. You can't swap the SSD, you can't upgrade the RAM, so you are out of luck. And then there's also repairability. It has one of the worst iFixit scores, 1 out of 10, meaning if something breaks, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. One day, actually the first time I took it on a trip, my Surface simply refused to turn on. No matter what I tried, holding the power button, holding it together with the volume button, plugged into the official charger with a USB-C charger, 2 chargers, and who knows what else. It just wouldn't turn on. My suspicion was that the problem was with the power button itself. I could feel that the click wasn't the same anymore. It even felt different from the volume buttons. So, with not many options left, I made the difficult decision to open it up and look at the problem more closely. I've watched some disassembly videos and then understood the poor iFixit score. To access the internal components, you have to remove the screen, which is glued on, and you need to use heat to loosen it up. So I grabbed my wife's hairdryer, spent a good while heating it around the screen, took a guitar pick and started sliding it under and around the edges to try to loosen the screen. But that glue is super strong, especially at the top of the display. It just didn't want to come off at all, and that's exactly where the buttons are. At that point, I think I lost my patience a bit, forced it too much, and ended up ruining the LCD panel in the process. First, I have to fix the button problem, maybe I can look for a new screen later. And the button problem was that the button itself broke off from the motherboard. I poked it a bit and ended up completely detaching it. It is super tiny. If I wanted to solder it back, I'd probably need a magnifying glass. But by shorting what was left of the button pads with a screwdriver, I managed to turn the Surface back on again. Going into the BIOS with an external monitor, I enabled the option to automatically turn on when the charger is connected, so I wouldn't need to use the power button anymore. If only I could go back in time and enable that option from the beginning. It would have saved me a lot of frustration. Even so, sometimes it still doesn't turn on when I connect the charger. Then I have to go in there and poke it with a screwdriver or some piece of metal. That way I can technically still use the Surface as a desktop, but it loses most of its appeal without the screen. So I went to check how much a new screen costs. And to my surprise, just the screen alone costs more than what I paid for the device, so it doesn't make any sense. It's cheaper to look for another Surface or just use it with a monitor. So I found a Full HD portable touchscreen monitor on AliExpress for around 40 euros and decided to buy it to test it. After all, I also could use the monitor with other devices too. When I tested the monitor, the touchscreen worked perfectly. It looks great and has a matte finish. But then I noticed that there was a single stuck pixel in the middle of the screen. I thought about returning it, but in the end, I just got a partial refund. But going back to the Surface, the combo kind of works reasonably well. It just gets a bit weird if you want to use the Surface keyboard, since the connector is on the bottom edge and only works at angles between 90 and 180 degrees. I cannot fold it back and continue using it. One option would be to leave the Surface open next to the monitor, but then it's kind of awkward looking at one side while typing on the other. Another option is to lay it fully open on the desk and place the monitor on top of the broken screen, which looks kind of ugly but works reasonably well. It just reminds me of that Pixar scene where the lamp crushes the eye and takes its place. The third option I came up with, Megazord. In it, I flip the monitor upside down and fit it on top of the Surface. It looks kind of funny and seems a bit unstable, but on the plus side, it is more ergonomic. Still, I don't think I'd feel comfortable using it like that in public. I really like the Surface Go, but with the broken screen, it's not the same anymore. Maybe it needs a new role. For example, a local file server, since it has the SD card option and I can access it remotely with software like AnyDesk. What else could you do with a device in this condition? Anyway, my search continues. In the next video, I will explore another device, in the same price bracket, trying to evaluate it in the same way. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe to the channel. Maybe one question that you have at the end of this video is it worth it to get the Surface Go from 2018? I'd say maybe, if you choose the 8GB version and you are careful with the power button. But I think it's safer to go with a newer version. Like even the second edition is from 2020 would be a bit better. And then I don't know if this affects the other models. You should enable the power on when connecting the charger just to be safe about the power button. Because if you have to open it, it's more or less game over unless you have some experience opening similar devices. Anyway, thanks for watching and until the next video.